Go to Debbie. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What can we help you with?
Hi, Debbie.
Hey,
Hey.
my question is in regards to the Jones Act.
Okay.
It says that they are not responsible for injuries if you are hurt offshore or under the Jones Act. And I have a son-in-law that was injured. He worked in a shipyard, and he was injured due to negligence of the company, and has had to, fight for compensation for his injuries, and has recently been fired due to reasons outside of his injury. And I'm wondering if that falls under the Jones Act, the Longshore workman's compensation, or what route should he take?
Let me a couple quick questions. Was he a member of a crew on a boat, a vessel?
He wasn't. He was working building
the ship
in the shipyard.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And he was hurt while working at the shipyard. Was he hurt though on a? This gets a little maybe too nuanced, but was he hurt on the vessel or actually on the shipyard?
He was in the shipyard working on building a boat.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So it probably breaks down as he's probably covered by the Longshore and Harbor Workers' Compensation Act. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean, and let's just talk about it just a second. So essentially under the Longshore and Harbor Workers' Compensation Act, he is entitled to 2/3 of his average weekly wage for the time period that he's disabled, have all his medical expenses paid, and then probably, depending on the severity of the injury, a lump sum settlement of some kind of payment based upon a disability rating once he's healed, okay? That's a real summary of what he's probably entitled to under the Longshore Act, and that's against his employer. Now, the interesting thing becomes in these types of cases, sometimes there's something called a third-party case, so that if the owner of the vessel's employee, for instance, hurt your son or had some hand in that, if some other subcontractor did something to cause your son to be injured, if a product was defective that caused your son to be injured, any of those three sort of companies could then be, you could recover for them for additional compensation over and above what you would get under the Longshore claim.
And then something else she said too, Jim, and not to sound like I know everything about Debbie's business here,
Right.
but she did say her son had been let go from that job, but that really doesn't affect his injury claim, does it?
No, whether he's let go or not, if he's injured on the job under the Longshore and Harbor Workers' Compensation Act, it's a no-fault deal. In other words, if he's injured while he's working in the course and scope of his employment, they're responsible for, again, the 2/3 of the average weekly wage and medical expenses and probably a lump sum. It gets very complicated very quick. I would suggest if your son's not being paid and he's hurt, particularly if he has what you think is a serious injury, pick up the phone if you hadn't already, call an attorney Monday morning. My firm, other firms that do this kind of work will handle and talk to you about the case for free. If he decides not to proceed with the case, that's okay, but you then at least know where you stand. And so what I've given you tonight, Debbie, is sort of a summary, a very brief summary because of the time constraints.
Right.
But it gets complicated quick, and if he has a severe injury, you need to sit down and talk to a lawyer.
And it sounds, from what she said early on, it sounds like there's a little bit of conflict brewing there.
That's
so,
right.
Debbie, thank you so much
Good luck, Debbie.
for the call tonight. I really do appreciate it. Jim, I hate to say it, we do get a lot of calls here where somebody gets hurt on the job and then in short order they're let go from that same company here in Mississippi.
Here's what I see.
It's allowed.
Here's what I see a lot of times offshore, and I tell people this. Look, these are generally pretty good paying jobs.
Right.
For a working man, they're really good jobs. They pay well. And people don't want to lose them, and it's understandable. So a lot of times people are hurt on the job. I see it all the time on a vessel. They have a potential claim. They don't want to pursue it because they think the employer is going to be nice to them, take care of things, and they're going to get to go back to work. The truth is, in 90% of the cases, if it's a significant injury, regardless of what the employer is telling you, they're not going to let you go back out there and work. You're probably, if you're severely injured or have a significant back injury, something like that, you're probably not going to be able to go back and do the work. So what I see people a lot of times doing is they forego basically their claim, which they're going to need to take care of their family in the future, under the hopes that they hold on to the job, and in the end they don't get to. So I always tell people, again, talk to an attorney. An attorney conversation is private. Your employer doesn't know if you go and talk to them. And the attorney won't do anything if you tell them not to, but you need to know what your rights are if the injury is significant.
It's better to have the conversation than not to have the conversation.